talked about dominant thoughts, right? Or holding a dominant thought. Carl, sure, we'll follow with you later. But so dominant, if we define it as a ruling, governing, or controlling, having or exerting authority or influence. So now let's go back one more time. Dominant thought, ruling, governing, or controlling. One more time, let that sink in. Ruling, governing, controlling. Okay? Dominant thoughts, as we're going to define them as part of the ISBG process, the thought that rules, governs, or controls my reality. Let's go back again. Ruling, governing, controlling. Think about what you're experiencing in your life right now. What thoughts are ruling you? What thoughts are governing you? What thoughts are exerting authority over you? That's why I wanted us to focus on those three words, because when you think about your present reality and what you're experiencing, what thoughts, if you have money concerns, and I'm sure most of us have money concerns, what thoughts are ruling us about our money? I'll never have enough, right? As you think in your heart, that's what you become. And you're saying that, right? Because Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you can only speak what's inside of you. And you're speaking the thoughts that are ruling, governing, and controlling you. So now you should start thinking about, wait, this is true no matter what. So I need to change the thoughts that are doing what? Ruling, governing, and controlling me. I need to change the thoughts that have authority or influence over me. Okay? And when you change what you believe, you change what you receive. It's all within the dominant thought. All right, so dominant thoughts attract thoughts that are like themselves. It doesn't matter whether these thoughts are positive or negative. So one of my favorite examples we talked about is the guy robbing the store, right? This is a negative example. Or the guy robbing anything. At some point, he has an idea about robbing. Then, he really puts a lot of time and attention into, man, I think I'm going to do this thing. Now he has conceived the idea of robbery. Like, this is going to happen. I'm just looking for a victim. And so now his buddies are like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, we're going to rob some people. Okay, y'all want in? So what has he done? He's attracted people that think like him to help him execute his desire. Now, it may not have been their initial desire, but it sounded good when he said it. And so now you have everybody coming together to do harm. Well, what if we did it for good? What if every one of us in this room had a dominant thought about something good, and we all had the same thought? We would begin to attract other people that have the thought about whatever it was we were thinking. And because of that, our dominant thought would do what? It would start to grow until it became a reality. Okay? Dominant thoughts create our reality. Proverbs 23:7, what you think about, you become. What your dominant thought is, you become. If your dominant thought was always being single, or your dominant thought is, I'm tired of being single. It's not fair, I'm always single. What's going to happen?
You want to be single.
You can't tell me that you want to be married, because every time that I interact with you, what am I hearing about?
Single.
Now, if you want to be married, if that's really what you desire, What reality do you need to think of? What thoughts do you need to think to create that married reality? Start thinking about your husband. Start thinking about your wife. Start thinking about their qualities. Start thinking about places you want to go, things you want to do, how you want to interact with them. Start thinking about that to the point where it becomes your dominant thought. Okay? So, the formula that we came up with, dominant thoughts are equal to our reality. So, as you walk through your day, just think about your DT, is it equaling to your R? You're looking at your R, your reality, and you're saying, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I desire. I'm going to change my reality. How do you change your reality? Change your DT, your dominant thought. Okay? All right, so the goal is to have your desire become your dominant thought so that it becomes your reality. So when I had you walk through the exercise about creating, selecting the thought category, and then from that thought category, we wanted you to refine that a little further. Then we wanted you to assign supportive and non-supportive thoughts to that. And then we only wanted you to think about supportive thoughts. Then we wanted you to think about things that would enhance your desire so that it would get you to the point where you would have a fully developed desire statement, which is when I say my desire here, that's what I'm talking about, that fully developed desire statement. So where my fully desire statement for this course is 2010, Ford Flex, captain's chairs, EcoBoost. Actually had silver in there originally, but my neighbor bought a silver one, literally, and I just, I'm done. I'm not gonna have a silver one because he's got a silver one. And at that time, nobody was buying Flexes. So, last point, is my current reality what I desire? So you should think about that for everything, every category you can come up with. Is your current reality what I desire? This is a yes or no. If it's not, what do? Start walking back up the process. What's my dominant thought? What am I thinking? Supportive, non-supportive? It doesn't matter, and I'm going to say this multiple times. It doesn't matter, positive or negative. You can run through this exercise with supportive and non-supportive thoughts as your reality. If you don't like your relationship with money, start thinking about just write it down in your columns. Oh my gosh. Then you start noticing, this is why I'm having these situations with money. Because my thoughts about money, I have more dominant thoughts that are negative than positive. So I'm going to change that. Okay? All right, so here's a quick pictorial. It's kind of reflective of what we did last week, but not exactly. But in the black space here, we have all reality. Right? You're living currently everything in the black space. And your dominant thoughts attract those thoughts that are like themselves. Again, it doesn't matter whether they're positive or negative. So if you notice, the size of your dominant thought here in the middle is greater than any of the other thoughts that are around it. So because if you think about science, and again, this isn't a science class, it's not a quantum physics class or anything like that, but certain principles hold true in the physical world as they do in the material world, right? And in the immaterial world. So whatever the largest thing is, the largest mass, is going to attract things that are lighter than it to itself. It's going to pull it in. And that's what you have happening here. So what you want to do with your supportive thoughts is you want to grow your dominant thought. And how do you grow your dominant thought? You grow your dominant thought by feeding it supporting thoughts. Joshua 1:8, this book of the law shall not depart out of my mouth. I'll think about it day and night. Why do you want to think about it day and night? So that the principles that are there become your dominant thoughts, right? So if I have dominant thoughts, can we just use good and evil? Good for green. If I'm having a dominant thought that is good, and all of my supportive thoughts are good, what's going to happen to the non-supportive thoughts if they try to come in? They're going to get repelled. Because they're what? They're not like the dominant thought. So if this is you, and you're really happy, I love Jesus and I'm working every day on becoming more and more like God, and someone comes to you and says, I want to rob the store. It doesn't even enter into your reality, because nothing in your reality is equal to robbing the store. The converse of that is true as well. If their dominant thought was evil, and you came to them with good, are they interested in you? Well, now get away from me. I don't want to hear none of that. Right? Why? Right? Jesus had a lot to say about people holding evil. Like, where does evil come from? It comes from the inside. You can't eat anything. You can't eat your cow, and your cow makes you evil. And that's not a knock on any religion. It's just to say that Jesus was very specific to say, the things that you eat that are physical come in your body and go out. The things that defile you are the things that are within you, those dominant thoughts. Those are the things. You thinking about doing the robbery is what's defiling you. Now, if you stop doing the robbery, thinking about the robbery, then you won't be defiled. We talked about James 1:5, we talked about lust, right? No man is tempted of God at any time, but is drawn away, of his own lust. So where did your lust come from? Well, you're a creative being. It came from inside of you. It said of Lucifer, he was perfect in all his ways until what happened? Iniquity was found in him. Now, God didn't put iniquity in it. He created it. Remember we talked about what you think about, you become? So he created within himself something that wasn't like God. And because God is the creator and says, I give you all free will, I allowed it to happen. But James says, again, back to James, James says no man is tempted of God at any time. He's drawn away of his lust, of his own lust. And when lust is conceived, right? We talked about the desire and the will. When those two things come together, what happens? Lust becomes sin. And it's the same way with our positive or our dominant thoughts. The thoughts that we think, if we think them long enough, they conceive something. And when they conceive something, after a period of time, it becomes something else. Right? So that's the review on the dominant thought. Again, put this in your mind, put this picture in your head, and the goal again would be to surround the dominant thoughts like we did last week with supportive thoughts. And if you have any non-supportive thoughts hovering around your dominant thought, you need to do what? Repel them. And how are you going to repel them? With supportive thoughts. Because these things that are not like can't stay with the things that are like. Okay?